All right, this is our Unit 4 retest review. Please remember that when you actually do your retest, those problems are going to be very similar in content to these questions. So if you do need to ask a question, make sure you do that before you take your actual retest. Okay, problem 1. Identify the slope, right, and the y-intercept in the equation y equals 3x plus 2 in graph. All right, well, hopefully we know that the slope is the number with x, right? So that's going to be 3 over 4. And the y-intercept is that number on the end, right? That we call that number b. So that number is going to be 2. Now, you do have to graph these. Whenever you graph, remember, plot the y-intercept. Okay, and then use your rise over run to plot more points. All right, so my y-intercept is positive 2. So my first point is going to be on the y-intercept at 2. And then my slope, right, my rise over run is 3 over 4. So I'm going to rise 3, I'm going to run 4. And notice that these points create a positive slope. Okay, I could go down 3 and left 4, right, because that's still in keeping with the first 2 points that I drew. Okay, go ahead and connect the dots and you've got your line. All right, problem 2. If y varies directly with x and y is 16 when x is 13, what is the value of y when x equals 7? Well, hopefully you remember that the phrase varies directly means that what we're looking at is proportional. And all you have to do to solve is set up a proportion. Now, when I do my proportions, I do y over x. But if you set yours up and stay consistent, you should be fine any way you do it here. Okay? So I'm going to say when y is 16, x is 13. So 16 over 13, right? Y over x is equal to, and it says, what is y when x equals 7? So x is 7, and my x's I'm putting on the bottom. So the 7 has to go on the bottom because that's where my x's are. And on the top, I'm just going to call that y. Now to solve this, you guys have lots of methods that you use. I just say cross multiplication. Some of y'all say butterfly method or ball and bat method, whatever you do. Here's what it looks like. 13 times y, or 13y, is equal to 16 times 7. Now let's see, what is 16 times 7? 16 times 7 is 112. So to get y by itself, we just need to divide out that 13. And we're left with y equals, let's see here, we got 112 divided by 13. And we have, let's see here, 8.6. I'm just going to do one decimal place. All right? And that is my y value that was missing. All right, problem 3, identify the slope from the graph below. Well, slope from a graph is just rise over run, right? So find 2 good points and say rise over run. So I got a good point here. I like this point here. Yeah, right, we got a bunch of good points. I'm going to stick with these 2. So from one point to the next, I'm going to rise 2, and I'm going to run 1. So my slope is just 2 over 1, which is 2. All right, all we had to do is find slope here. Problem number 4. Write an equation given the table below. So I'm going to have y equals my equation. Now you can do this by hand fairly easily, but I think most of us feel really confident using stat edit, so I'm going to do that. Okay, my x's, let's see here, I'm going to clear this. My x's are -1 and 0 and 12. Sorry, -1 and 0 and 1. I was looking at the y's. And then my y's, L2 here, we've got 2 and 7 and 12. All right, so that's stat edit. And then after stat edit, we go to stat calc. So I'm going to go back to stats and I'm going to click over to calc. And this time I want option 4, right? LinReg. So let's choose option 4. And Our software on this calculator, I need to scroll down to calculate and click enter. Some of you might also need to do the same if you have the same software. And we get a equals 5 and b equals 7. So 5 goes with x plus 7 is my equation, which I got solely just by using stat edit. All right, let's go ahead and let's look at problem 5. Convert the following equation to slope-intercept form. Hopefully you've gotten lots of practice with this. Let's just kind of review these steps here. First thing we're going to do is get rid of this 3x. And since it's positive, I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides of my equation. So now I have 5y equals 20 minus 3x. If you want, just by the way, if you have 5y equals negative 3x plus 20, that's the same thing. All right? Okay. Oops. Now we need to divide by 5. Oops, again. Sorry. All right, divide by 5 again. And we've got y equals 20 divided by 5, which is 4, minus, okay, I'm just going to leave that fraction there, right? Because otherwise it'd be 0.6, and I like the fraction better, so we're going to leave it like this. We're done. So just move the x, divide by the number with y. Okay, problem number 6. Identify the x and y intercepts of the following equation. I think we should get into the habit of just like the problem above. If we get an equation written like this, go ahead and get y by itself. So let's get a little bit of extra practice here. I'm going to do minus 4x on both sides. So now I've got 8y equals 24 minus 4x. Okay, finally let's get rid of this 8 using division. And I've got y equals 24 divided by 8 is 3 minus 4 divided by 8, which is 0.5, or just 1/2 x. All right, and if you're ever not sure about that, you can just type in negative 4 divided by 8, and you're going to get this negative 0.5, and we can go to math, enter, enter, to see that it's really just negative 1/2. Okay, now, that didn't really answer the question, though, but it can really help us answer it. So if I want the x and the y intercepts, let's see what my graph looks like. I have to put the equation I just found into y equals. So we're going to type in 3 minus, let's see, alpha y equals, so I can type in a fraction, and we're going to do 1/2 x. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to look at my graph. All right, so I can kind of see, here's the y-intercept up top, and here's the x-intercept over here. So I want to know exactly what those are. I can kind of tell it looks like 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe. But we can real easily check with our table. So now I'm going to go to my seconds and then table. So 0, 3 is one of them, right? 0, 3. And it looked like 6. Yeah, look, 6, 0 right there. And those are my 2 points, right? We're really just looking at our table. And we're trying to find when x is 0 and also when y is 0, x and y intercepts. Okay, problem number 7. Determine the line of best fit for the data shown in the graph. Include the correlation coefficient. Remember, guys, this is just talking about r. And circle the correct type of correlation. Well, let's do correlation first, right? It's kind of increasing there, so we're going to say this is positive correlation. To get the equation for this, we have to make a table. So I'm going to make a quick table over here so I can use my calculator stat edit. All right, here we go. Let's talk about these points. That's 1, 4. Okay, the next point is going to be right here, which is 1, 5. All right, the next point right here is 2, 4. And then I've got 2, 5. And I've also got 2, 6. A few more. Let's see, I've got 3, 5. And I've got 4, 6, and let's see here, 4, 7, and then finally, let's see here, we've got 5, 8. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put all these points in stat edit, and if you're going to get this problem correct, you do need to do all of these points. So we're going to go ahead. Let's go to stat edit, and we're going to clear out what we did before, and I'm going to type in all of my x's for this. So it looks like I've got 1 and 1, and I've got 2 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 4 and 5. All right, now for the y's. All right, we've got 4, 5, 4, 5. Let's see, 4, 5, 4, 5, and then 6, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. All right, so I've got my stat edit list. We're going to go now to stat calc, and I'm going to go down to option 4 and calculate. All right, so my equation is going to be y equals, let's see here, 0.79. I'm just going to stop there and say 79x plus 3.44. So here is my equation. Now the R value didn't show up, right? I'm supposed to be seeing the R value right now. So hopefully, do you guys remember how to turn that on? We're going to go to our catalogs. We're going to do second 0, and we're going to scroll all the way down until we get to the diagnostics. And sometimes I press this way too many times, so let's stop there. Getting there. All right, diagnostics. We want to turn them on, right? So diagnostics on. Press enter, but you got to hit it again so it says done. And now when I go to stat calc and do option 4, it gives me the same A and B values that I already wrote down, but now I have this R value. So I can see that the R value is 0.8397. All right, so R value is right here. So that does indicate it's a positive. It's also fairly strong, right? It's pretty strong because it's fairly close to 1. Strong positive correlation. All right, last couple questions. Here we go. Use the information below to answer questions 8 through 10. Smooth Operator Plumbing Company charges $50 per hour plus a service call fee when called to repair a plumbing problem. The company uses the equation C equals 50H plus 35 to calculate the charges C for the number of hours H on the job. What is the rate of change? You guys, rate of change means slope. Okay, so in this case, the slope is 50. So we're going to say $50 per hour. All right, slope is $50 per hour. The next says, what is the service call fee? Now, it doesn't tell us this explicitly. However, if we know they charge them $50 per hour in a service call fee, well, the 50 is the per hour price, so the service fee must be the $35, right? This is just another way to say the y-intercept. So we're going to say $35. And finally, question 10, how much would a 7-hour job cost? Well, if I'm being charged $50 per hour plus $35 for the service call fee, then a 7-hour job is just getting multiplied by 7, but don't forget to add that 35, and that's going to be our total price. So $50 an hour for 7 hours, right? That would give us $350, but again, don't forget that plus 35 on the end to get a total price of $385. Okay? All right, one more time. I know I said at the beginning, I'm going to say it again. Make sure you can answer all these questions by yourself before you come in for the retake because it is so very similar. And good luck.